Hey, sleepers! Tonight, we're diving into a digital realm where chains of information float like constellation patterns across a vast network of computers, each one holding a perfect copy of the same story. Picture thousands of glowing nodes scattered across the globe, pulsing gently with data, connected by invisible threads of trust and mathematics. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. I'd love to know where you're listening from tonight. Drop your location and local time in the comments below. Are you tucked in bed in Tokyo as the morning light creeps in? Or perhaps settling down in New York as the city lights begin to twinkle? So close your eyes, take a deep breath, and get ready to drift off as we explore the fascinating world of blockchain technology. Imagine for a moment that you're holding a very special notebook. Not just any notebook, but one that has magical properties. Every time you write something in it, that exact same writing appears instantly in thousands of other identical notebooks all around the world. And here's the really magical part. Once something is written, it can never be erased or changed. The ink becomes permanent, locked in time forever. This, my dear sleepers, is essentially what blockchain is. A distributed ledger, which is just a fancy way of saying a record book that exists in many places at once. Let me tell you a bedtime story about how this all began. Once upon a time, in 1991, two brilliant minds named Stuart Haber and W. Scott Stornetta were pondering a peculiar problem. They were worried about something that might seem silly at first. How do we prove that a document existed at a certain time and hasn't been changed since then? You know how sometimes you might write in a diary and put the date at the top? Well, what if someone could sneak in later and change what you wrote, and even change the date? These two scientists wanted to create a way to timestamp documents that nobody could tamper with. Picture them in their lab, probably drinking too much coffee, scribbling equations on whiteboards. They came up with an idea that was beautifully simple. What if each document had a unique fingerprint, and that fingerprint was linked to the fingerprint of the document that came before it? Like a chain of paper dolls, each one holding hands with the next. If someone tried to change one paper doll in the middle, they'd have to change all the ones that came after it too. And if thousands of people each had a copy of the entire chain of paper dolls, it would be impossible to change them all without everyone noticing. This idea floated around in academic circles for years, like a seed waiting for the right conditions to grow. Then, in 1998, a computer scientist named Nick Szabo had another piece of the puzzle. Nick was a fascinating character, part cryptographer, part legal scholar, part philosopher. He proposed something called bit gold, which sounds like something from a fairy tale, doesn't it? Bit gold was his vision for digital money that didn't need a bank to manage it. Imagine if gold coins could exist purely as information, but were just as rare and valuable as real gold. Nick's idea was clever. He said, what if we make computers do really hard math problems to create new digital coins? Like a digital version of mining for gold, where instead of digging in the ground, computers would solve puzzles. The harder the puzzle, the more valuable the coin. But bit gold remained just an idea, a beautiful theory without practical implementation. Now, let me lower my voice a bit and tell you about one of the greatest mysteries in modern technology. On October 31st, 2008, yes, Halloween night, how perfectly mysterious, someone or perhaps a group of people using the name Satoshi Nakamoto published a paper that would change everything. Nobody knows who Satoshi really is. They could be a man, a woman, a group of people. maybe even someone listening to this very recording right now. Wouldn't that be something? Satoshi's paper was only 9 pages long. 9 pages that would eventually move trillions of dollars and inspire thousands of innovations. The paper described Bitcoin, the first practical implementation of blockchain technology. It was like someone had taken Haber and Stornetta's timestamp chain, mixed it with Szabo's BitGold concept, added a dash of peer-to-peer networking, and created digital alchemy. The timing wasn't coincidental. The world was in the middle of a financial crisis. Banks were collapsing. Governments were printing money to bail them out. People were losing their homes, their savings, their trust in the system. And here came this mysterious figure offering an alternative. Money that no government could print more of, no bank could control, no single authority could shut down. On January 3, 2009, Satoshi created the very first block of the Bitcoin blockchain, called the Genesis block. Hidden inside this first block was a message, like a time capsule. It read, "The Times 3 Jan 2009, Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks." This was a headline from the London Times that day. Satoshi was making a point. Here's a timestamp that proves when this began, and here's why it matters. Now, you might be wondering, how does this magical notebook actually work? Let's imagine it in the most peaceful way possible. Picture a calm lake at dawn, perfectly still. Each new piece of information that gets added to the blockchain is like a drop of water falling into this lake. But instead of creating ripples that eventually fade away, each drop crystallizes the moment it touches the surface, becoming a permanent part of the lake's structure. Each crystal, we call them blocks, contains 3 special things. First, it has information about transactions. Think of these as little notes saying things like, "Alice sent 3 digital coins to Bob," or "Charlie bought a digital painting from Diana." Second, it has a timestamp marking exactly when this block was created, like pressing a flower in a book and writing the date you picked it. And third, this is the clever part. It contains a unique fingerprint of the previous block. This fingerprint is created using something called a hash function. Now, don't let your mind tense up at the technical term. A hash function is simply a magical recipe that takes any information and turns it into a unique code. Imagine you have a smoothie maker that's incredibly precise. You put in strawberries, bananas, and yogurt in exact amounts, and it always produces a smoothie with the exact same color. Let's say a specific shade of pink. If you change even one strawberry, even by a single gram, the color changes completely. That's what a hash function does with data. The specific hash function that Bitcoin uses is called SH256. Those letters and numbers might look intimidating, but think of it as just the model number of our magical smoothie maker. It creates a fingerprint that's 256 bits long. How long is that? Well, imagine a number with 77 digits. That's how many possible fingerprints there are. To put that in perspective, there are more possible fingerprints than there are atoms in the entire observable universe. Several times over, in fact. Let me paint you a soothing picture of how new blocks are added to this chain. All around the world, in warehouses and basements, in cool mountain facilities and desert solar farms, computers are humming softly, working on puzzles. These computers belong to people we call miners, though they're not digging for anything physical. They're competing to solve a mathematical puzzle that will let them add the next block to the chain. The puzzle is elegantly simple in concept, but practically impossible to solve without trying millions and millions of possibilities. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack, except the haystack is the size of a planet, and you have to find the needle by randomly checking each piece of hay. The first miner to find the needle is to add the next block to the chain and receives a reward in newly created bitcoins. This process is called proof of work. The computers are proving they did work by solving the puzzle. It's like showing your teacher you did your homework by presenting the completed assignment. The difficulty of these puzzles adjusts automatically every 2 weeks or so, ensuring that a new block is added roughly every 10 minutes, no matter how many miners are trying. It's like a cosmic heartbeat, steady and reliable. But you might be thinking, and you'd be right to wonder, isn't all this computing work using a lot of electricity? Indeed it is, dear listener. The Bitcoin network currently uses about as much electricity as the entire country of Argentina. Imagine every light, every refrigerator, every television in Argentina, all running at once. That's the amount of energy flowing into securing the Bitcoin network. A single Bitcoin transaction uses roughly the same amount of electricity that an average American household uses in 24 days. Picture leaving every light in your house on, running your air conditioner full blast, keeping all your devices plugged in and running for more than 3 weeks. That's the energy cost of moving Bitcoin from one digital wallet to another. This concerned many people, including a young programmer named Vitalik Buterin. Vitalik was born in Russia, grew up in Canada, and had been fascinated by Bitcoin since he was 17. But he saw that blockchain could be so much more than just digital money. In 2013, when he was only 19, he wrote a white paper proposing Ethereum, a blockchain that could run programs, not just record transactions. Imagine if our magical notebook could not only record what happened, but also automatically execute instructions written in its pages. If you wrote, "Send 5 coins to Maria every month on the first day," the notebook would do it automatically, forever, without anyone needing to remember or take action. Vitalik called these programs smart contracts, though the term was actually coined years earlier by our friend Nick Szabo. Ethereum launched in 2015, opening a whole new world of possibilities. But it initially used the same proof-of-work system as Bitcoin, with all that energy consumption. The Ethereum community spent years developing an alternative called proof of stake. Instead of miners competing to solve puzzles, validators would be chosen to add blocks based on how many coins they held and were willing to lock up as collateral. It's like instead of having a race to see who can run fastest, you have a lottery where your chances of winning depend on how many tickets you buy. In September 2022, Ethereum successfully switched from proof of work to proof of stake in an event called the Merge. Overnight, Ethereum's energy consumption dropped by 99.95%. Imagine if Argentina suddenly needed only the electricity of a small village. That's the scale of the change. The network went from consuming 112 terawatt hours per year to just 0.01 terawatt hours. It was like watching a roaring bonfire transform into a gentle candle flame. There are other consensus mechanisms too, each with its own poetry. Practical Byzantine fault tolerance, despite its intimidating name, comes from a thought experiment about Byzantine generals trying to coordinate an attack. Imagine several generals surrounding a city, each in their own camp, needing to agree on when to attack. Some generals might be traitors, sending false messages. How do the loyal generals reach agreement? This ancient puzzle, solved with modern cryptography, helps some blockchains reach consensus. Now, let's take a gentle breath and consider the different types of blockchain networks, like different types of gardens. A public blockchain is like a community garden that anyone can visit, anyone can plant in, and everyone can see what's growing. Bitcoin and Ethereum are public blockchains. They're open to the world, transparent, democratic in their own digital way. Private blockchains are more like a walled garden in a corporate campus. Only employees with keycards can enter. Only approved gardeners can plant. The company controls what grows and who can see it. Hyperledger Fabric, used by many corporations, is this type of closed but organized system. Then we have consortium blockchains, which are like a shared garden between several neighboring houses. The neighbors agree on the rules together, decide who can plant what, and share the harvest. Several organizations jointly control these networks, finding a middle ground between fully public and fully private. And hybrid blockchains? They're like having a garden with both a public park area where anyone can stroll and enjoy the flowers, and a private greenhouse where special plants are cultivated away from public view. Some information is open to everyone, while other data remains confidential. The beauty of blockchain lies not just in its structure, but in its mathematical elegance. Let me tell you about Merkle trees, named after Ralph Merkle, who invented them in 1979. Imagine a family tree, but instead of showing how people are related, it shows how pieces of data are connected. At the bottom are all the individual transactions, like leaves on a tree. These are paired up and hashed together to create branches. Those branches are paired and hashed to create bigger branches, and so on until you reach a single hash at the top, the root of the tree. This structure is gorgeously efficient. If you want to prove that a specific transaction is in a block, you don't need to download the entire block. You just need a few hashes, showing the path from your transaction to the root. It's like proving you're related to your great-grandmother without needing to bring your entire extended family to dinner. Digital signatures add another layer of mathematical poetry. When you send a blockchain transaction, you sign it with your private key, a secret number that only you know. Others can verify your signature using your public key, a number you share freely. It's like having a magical seal that only you can create, but anyone can verify is genuine. The mathematics behind this involves enormous prime numbers and something called elliptic curves, but we don't need to dive into those deep waters tonight. Just know that the math is so robust that breaking it would require more computing power than currently exists on Earth. Speaking of computing power, let's address the elephant in the server room, the environmental impact of blockchain. Bitcoin mining has become an industry unto itself. In Kazakhstan, old Soviet-era power plants have roared back to life to feed mining operations. In Texas, mining facilities negotiate directly with power grids, turning off during heat waves when regular folks need air conditioning. In Iceland, miners use geothermal energy from volcanoes to power their operations, turning the Earth's own heat into digital gold. The statistics can be sobering. Bitcoin mining produces about 65 million tons of CO2 annually, similar to the entire country of Greece. But the picture isn't entirely dark. Studies suggest that between 39 and 74% of Bitcoin mining uses renewable energy. Why such a wide range in estimates? Because miners are secretive about their locations and power sources, making accurate measurement challenging. Some mining operations have become quite creative. In North Dakota, miners capture natural gas that would otherwise be flared off at oil wells, turning waste into digital value. In El Salvador, They're using volcanic energy to mine Bitcoin. The country has installed mining facilities powered entirely by geothermal energy from volcanoes. Imagine that, volcanic fire transformed into digital currency. The speed of blockchain transactions presents another fascinating aspect of this technology. Bitcoin processes about 7 transactions per second. Ethereum manages 15 to 30. These numbers might seem reasonable until you compare them to Visa's network, which can handle 24,000 transactions per second. It's like comparing a peaceful country road to a massive superhighway. But ingenious solutions have emerged. The Lightning Network for Bitcoin is like building express lanes above the regular road. Most transactions happen on these express lanes, only occasionally settling back to the main blockchain. It can handle thousands of transactions per second with fees of fractions of a penny. Newer blockchains claim astounding speeds. Solana boasts a theoretical maximum of 65,000 transactions per second, though it rarely achieves this in practice. It's achieved this speed by making trade-offs, like requiring more powerful computers to run nodes, making it less decentralized. It's the eternal blockchain trilemma. You can have two of decentralization, security, and scalability, but achieving all three remains the holy grail of blockchain technology. Let me tell you about one of the most transformative innovations in blockchain, smart contracts. Remember Nick Szabo, who coined the term back in 1994? He imagined contracts that could execute themselves, like a vending machine. You put in money, press a button, and out comes your snack. No negotiation, no lawyers, no possibility of the machine deciding not to give you your candy bar. The rules are coded into the machine itself. When Ethereum launched in 2015, it made Szabo's vision real. Smart contracts are programs that live on the blockchain, executing automatically when certain conditions are met. Imagine writing a will that distributes your digital assets automatically when certain conditions are verified, or insurance that pays out instantly when a flight is delayed. No paperwork needed. But with great power comes great responsibility, and sometimes great disasters. Let me tell you the cautionary tale of the DAO, the Decentralized Autonomous Organization. In 2016, a group of enthusiasts created what was essentially an investor-run venture capital fund on the Ethereum blockchain. No managers, no board of directors, just code and collective decision-making. They raised $150 million in cryptocurrency, making it the largest crowdfunding project ever at the time. The code was supposed to be perfect, immutable, the law itself. But code, like any human creation, can have flaws. A clever hacker found a loophole that allowed them to drain $60 million from the DAO. The hacker didn't break the code. They followed it precisely, just in a way the creators hadn't anticipated. It was like finding a legal loophole in a contract, except the contract was enforced by unstoppable computer code. The Ethereum community faced an agonizing decision. Should they accept the theft as a costly lesson in the importance of careful coding? Or should they roll back the blockchain, essentially turning back time to before the hack happened? After heated debate, they chose to fork the blockchain, creating a new timeline where the hack never occurred. But some purists refused to accept this change, continuing the original chain as Ethereum Classic. To this day, both versions exist, parallel universes born from a single decision. The Mt. Gox collapse of 2014 was another watershed moment. Mt. Gox wasn't a mountain, as the name might suggest, but a Bitcoin exchange based in Tokyo. At its peak, It handled 70% of all Bitcoin transactions worldwide. The name actually stood for Magic, a gathering online exchange. It started as a trading card exchange before pivoting to Bitcoin. Sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. In February 2014, Mt. Gox suddenly halted all trading and filed for bankruptcy. 850,000 bitcoins had vanished, worth $450 million at the time, but worth tens of billions at today's prices. Some were stolen by hackers, others apparently lost due to bugs in the exchange's custom wallet software. Imagine losing the keys to a vault containing billions of dollars, except the vault exists only in cyberspace, and the keys are just numbers in a computer's memory. The Mt. Gox saga continues to this day. In 2017, a Russian named Alexander Vinnik was arrested in Greece, accused of laundering billions through a different exchange, including bitcoins stolen from Mt. Gox. The bankruptcy proceedings have dragged on for nearly a decade, with creditors still waiting for compensation. It's a reminder that while blockchain itself might be secure, the services built around it remain vulnerable to human error and malice. These security incidents might sound alarming, but they have led to improvements. Like how airplane crashes, though tragic, make flying safer for everyone, each blockchain hack teaches valuable lessons. Modern smart contracts undergo extensive audits. Exchange security has improved dramatically. Multi-signature wallets require multiple keys to authorize transactions, like a bank vault that needs 2 keys turned simultaneously. The 51% attack is another vulnerability worth understanding. If someone controls more than half of a blockchain's mining power, they can rewrite recent history. It's like if someone could buy enough votes to change the outcome of a recent election. This has happened to smaller cryptocurrencies like Ethereum Classic and Bitcoin Gold, where attackers reverse transactions to spend the same coins twice. But for major blockchains like Bitcoin, a 51% attack would require billions of dollars worth of hardware and electricity. It would be like trying to counterfeit money by building your own country with its own mint, theoretically possible, but practically infeasible. Bridge hacks represent a newer category of vulnerability. Bridges allow assets to move between different blockchains, like currency exchanges at borders between countries. Hackers have stolen over $2.5 billion from various bridges, exploiting the complex code that manages these cross-chain transfers. The Ronin Bridge hack of 2022 saw $625 million stolen, making it one of the largest cryptocurrency thefts ever. The hackers compromised enough validator keys to authorize a massive withdrawal, like forging enough signatures to empty a joint bank account. Now, let's shift our attention to the economic ripples blockchain has created across the global financial ocean. The numbers are staggering, almost dreamlike in their scale. In November 2021, the total value of all cryptocurrencies peaked at $3 trillion. That's 3 followed by 12 zeros. If cryptocurrency were a country's GDP, it would rank as the 5th largest economy in the world, between Germany and India. Today, over 420 million people globally own some form of cryptocurrency. That's more than the entire population of the United States. In some countries, cryptocurrency adoption has been particularly dramatic. In Nigeria, 32% of adults have used or owned cryptocurrency. In Vietnam, it's 21%. These aren't wealthy nations experimenting with digital toys. They're populations finding practical solutions to real financial challenges. The projection for blockchain technology's growth reads like science fiction. Market analysts predict the blockchain technology market will grow from $17.57 billion in 2023 to $469.49 billion by 2030, a growth of over 2,500% in just 7 years. Imagine planting a seed and watching it grow into a giant redwood in the time it takes a child to finish elementary school. Central banks around the world have taken notice. As of 2023, 130 countries representing 98% of global GDP are exploring central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. China's digital yuan is already in use by 260 million people. The Bahamas launched the Sand Dollar in 2020, the world's first nationwide CBDC. Nigeria's Naira followed in 2021. These aren't cryptocurrencies in the traditional sense. They're digital versions of national currencies, controlled by central banks, but using blockchain technology for efficiency and transparency. The enterprise adoption of blockchain tells fascinating stories of transformation. Walmart, the retail giant, uses blockchain to track its food supply chain. Before blockchain, tracing contaminated food to its source took about 7 days of detective work, calling suppliers, checking paper records, following trails that often went cold. With blockchain, they can trace a package of spinach back to the exact farm in 2.2 seconds. That's faster than you can sneeze. This speed can literally save lives during food contamination outbreaks. IBM's Food Trust Network has become a digital nervous system for the global food industry. Major retailers like Carrefour and Kroger use it. Nestle tracks its coffee from Brazilian farms to European coffee cups. Dole tracks its pineapples from tropical plantations to grocery stores. Each step of the journey is recorded immutably on the blockchain, creating an unbroken chain of custody. Estonia, that small Baltic nation of just 1.3 million people, has become an unlikely blockchain pioneer. Since 2014, their e-residency program has used blockchain to secure digital identities. Imagine being able to start and run an EU company entirely online, from anywhere in the world, with your identity and documents secured by blockchain. Over 100,000 people from 179 countries have become Estonian e-residents, running their businesses through this digital nation. The Estonian government uses blockchain for healthcare records, property titles, and business registries. They call it the digital backbone of their country. When Russia launched cyber attacks against Estonia in 2007, it pushed the small nation to become a leader in digital security. Now, even if every government computer in Estonia were destroyed, they could rebuild their entire digital infrastructure from blockchain records stored around the world. China's relationship with blockchain is fascinatingly contradictory. In 2021, they banned cryptocurrency trading and mining, forcing miners to pack up their equipment and flee to countries like Kazakhstan and the United States. Yet simultaneously, China is pouring billions into blockchain development. Their blockchain service network, launched in 2020, is designed to be the backbone of a new digital economy. It's like banning cars while building superhighways, seemingly contradictory until you realize they want the roads but not the traffic. President Xi Jinping has called blockchain a breakthrough technology, and Chinese cities are competing to become blockchain hubs. Hainan province aims to become a blockchain island, offering tax breaks and subsidies to blockchain companies. Chinese companies have filed more blockchain patents than any other country. They're betting on a future where blockchain powers everything from supply chains to smart cities. just without the decentralized cryptocurrencies that could challenge state control. The insurance industry has found surprising uses for blockchain. In France, Avio launched a flight delay insurance product called Fizzy that used smart contracts on the Ethereum blockchain. If your flight was delayed more than 2 hours, the smart contract would automatically trigger a payment to your account. No claims process, no paperwork, no arguing with insurance adjusters. The product was discontinued, but it demonstrated the potential for automatic, trustless insurance. In developing nations, blockchain is solving problems that might seem alien to those in countries with stable banking systems. In Venezuela, where hyperinflation destroyed the value of the national currency, many turned to Bitcoin as a store of value. When your money loses half its value every month, a volatile cryptocurrency suddenly looks stable by comparison. In the Philippines, overseas workers send home $35 billion annually in remittances. Traditional money transfers take days and eat up 7% or more in fees. Blockchain-based transfers happen in minutes with fees under 1%. For a Filipino nurse in Dubai, sending money to family in Manila, blockchain isn't about speculation or innovation. It's about putting food on the table. Kenya's M-Pesa mobile money system, while not blockchain-based, paved the way for understanding digital finance in developing nations. It showed that people without bank accounts, without computers, without even reliable electricity, could still participate in the digital economy through simple mobile phones. Now, blockchain projects across Africa build on this foundation, creating systems for everything from agricultural insurance to solar power trading. Let's pause for a moment and consider the technical limitations that keep blockchain from conquering the world overnight. The blockchain trilemma, first articulated by Ethereum's Vitalik Buterin, suggests you can optimize for 2 of 3 properties: decentralization, security, and scalability. But getting all 3? That's like trying to make something that's simultaneously hot, cold, and room temperature. Bitcoin chose decentralization and security, which is why it processes only 7 transactions per second. Newer chains like Binance Smart Chain chose scalability and security, but sacrificed decentralization with only 21 validators. It's a fundamental trade-off, baked into the mathematics of distributed systems. Storage requirements present another challenge. Bitcoin's blockchain now exceeds 500 gigabytes and grows by about 50 gigabytes each year. Ethereum's blockchain, with all its smart contracts and data, is approaching 15 terabytes if you want to run a full archive node. Imagine trying to store the entire history of every transaction ever made forever on your computer. And remember, thousands of computers worldwide are storing these exact same copies. Some proposed solutions involve sharding, splitting the blockchain into smaller pieces that different nodes can handle. Imagine a library where instead of every librarian memorizing every book, each specializes in certain sections. When someone needs information, the librarians work together to find it. Ethereum is implementing sharding as part of its long-term scaling solution. The quantum computing threat looms on the horizon like a distant storm. Today's blockchain cryptography is secure against classical computers. It would take billions of years to crack. But quantum computers, which operate on the bizarre principles of quantum mechanics, could theoretically break this encryption in hours or days. It's like the difference between trying to find a needle in a haystack by checking each piece of straw versus being able to check all the straw simultaneously. But don't lose sleep over this tonight. Quantum computers powerful enough to threaten blockchain are still likely decades away. And cryptographers are already developing quantum-resistant algorithms. It's an arms race in slow motion, measured in academic papers and laboratory experiments rather than bombs and bullets. Interoperability, the ability for different blockchains to communicate, remains a massive challenge. Over 1,000 different blockchains exist, each speaking its own language, following its own rules. It's like having 1,000 islands, each with its own currency, laws, and customs, trying to trade with each other. Bridge protocols attempt to connect these islands. But as we discussed earlier, bridges have become prime targets for hackers. Projects like Polkadot and Cosmos are building blockchain of blockchains, systems designed from the ground up to allow different chains to interact. Imagine a universal translator that allows all these digital islands to understand each other. But creating standards that everyone agrees on is like trying to get the whole world to speak Esperanto, theoretically beneficial, but practically challenging. The regulatory landscape around blockchain resembles a patchwork quilt sewn by committee. Each country, sometimes each state or province, has its own approach. El Salvador made headlines in September 2021 by becoming the first country to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. President Nayib Bukele, a millennial leader who tweets prolifically, pushed the Bitcoin law through in just days. Suddenly, every business in El Salvador had to accept Bitcoin, from McDonald's to street vendors selling pupusas. The rollout was rocky. The government's Bitcoin wallet app crashed on launch day. Many Salvadorans, especially older citizens and those without smartphones, struggled with the technology. The value of El Salvador's Bitcoin holdings has fluctuated wildly, sometimes showing paper losses of tens of millions of dollars. Yet Bukele remains committed, even announcing plans for a Bitcoin city powered by volcanic energy. The European Union took a more measured approach with MiCA, the Markets in Crypto Assets Regulation. Years in the making, MiCA provides comprehensive rules for cryptocurrency operations across all 27 EU member states. It requires cryptocurrency exchanges to obtain licenses, segregate customer assets, and maintain capital reserves. It's like building safety rails on a winding mountain road, restricting some freedom of movement, but preventing cars from flying off cliffs. The United States presents a regulatory maze. The Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, argues many cryptocurrencies are securities and should follow stock market rules. The Commodity Futures Trading Commission says Bitcoin is a commodity like gold or wheat. The Treasury worries about money laundering. The Federal Reserve ponders digital dollars. Each agency guards its turf, while the industry pleads for clarity. The SEC's enforcement actions have sent shockwaves through the crypto world. They've sued major exchanges like Coinbase and Binance, arguing they're operating as unregistered securities exchanges. They've gone after individual cryptocurrency projects, sometimes waiting years before declaring a token an illegal security. It's like a traffic cop who lets you drive for years, then pulls you over and says you've been breaking the law all along. China's cryptocurrency ban in 2021 was swift and total. Mining operations that had hummed for years fell silent overnight. Miners loaded their equipment onto trucks and trains, fleeing to Kazakhstan, Russia, and the United States. The Great Mining Migration of 2021 redistributed global Bitcoin mining power in a matter of months. Kazakhstan went from mining 6% of Bitcoin to 18%. The United States jumped from 7% to 35%. But China's ban on cryptocurrency didn't mean abandoning blockchain. They're developing their digital yuan with enthusiasm, conducting trials in major cities. Imagine paying for your morning coffee by scanning a QR code, with the transaction recorded on a blockchain controlled entirely by the People's Bank of China. It offers the efficiency of cryptocurrency with the control of traditional currency. India's relationship with cryptocurrency has been a roller coaster of bans, unbans, and regulatory uncertainty. In 2018, the Reserve Bank of India effectively banned banks from dealing with cryptocurrency companies. The Supreme Court overturned this in 2020. Then the government proposed a bill to ban all private cryptocurrencies while exploring a digital rupee. The bill never passed, leaving millions of Indian cryptocurrency investors in limbo. Japan, scarred by the Mt. Gox collapse, implemented some of the world's strictest but clearest cryptocurrency regulations. Exchanges must segregate customer assets, maintain reserves, and undergo regular audits. It's stringent, but provides clarity. Japanese investors know exactly what's legal and what isn't, which some argue is better than regulatory uncertainty. In Africa, Nigeria's relationship with cryptocurrency tells a story of innovation meeting necessity. Despite the central bank prohibiting banks from processing cryptocurrency transactions, Nigerians trade over $400 million in Bitcoin monthly through peer-to-peer platforms. When the government launched the Naira digital currency, adoption was slow. Only 0.5% of Nigerians used it in its first year, while 32% had used cryptocurrencies. South Korea requires all cryptocurrency trading to happen through real-name verified accounts linked to Korean banks. No anonymous trading allowed. They've also banned initial coin offerings entirely, but embrace blockchain technology for government services. Seoul uses blockchain for administrative services, from vehicle history reports to citizen suggestion management. The regulatory future remains uncertain, evolving daily. Some countries race to become cryptocurrency havens, offering golden visas to Bitcoin millionaires and tax breaks to blockchain companies. Others tighten restrictions, worried about money laundering, tax evasion, and financial stability. It's a global experiment in real time, with billions of dollars and revolutionary technology at stake. Now, let's explore some of the more innovative and sometimes whimsical applications of blockchain technology. The world of NFTs, non-fungible tokens, exploded into mainstream consciousness in 2021. Digital artist. People sold an NFT artwork for $69 million at Christie's auction house. Suddenly, everyone was talking about digital ownership, from celebrities launching NFT collections to major brands like Nike and Adidas jumping into virtual goods. But NFTs aren't just expensive JPEGs, despite what critics say. They represent a fundamental shift in how we think about digital ownership. For the first time in history, you can provably own a unique digital item. It's like the difference between having a poster of the Mona Lisa and owning the actual painting, except both exist purely in digital space. Gaming provides fascinating use cases. Axie Infinity, a blockchain game where players breed and battle cute creatures called Axies, became a source of income for thousands in the Philippines during the pandemic. Players could earn tokens worth real money by playing the game. Some earned more than the minimum wage. Imagine telling your grandparents you make a living playing with digital pets, yet for many, it became reality. But the Axie economy also showed the volatility of blockchain gaming. When token prices crashed and the game's bridge was hacked for $625 million, Many players saw their income evaporate. The virtual economy turned out to be as susceptible to boom and bust as any real-world market. Supply chain tracking extends far beyond Walmart's lettuce. De Beers uses blockchain to track diamonds from mine to jewelry store, ensuring they're not conflict diamonds funding wars in Africa. Everledger has created digital passports for over 2 million diamonds, recording their characteristics immutably on blockchain. Each diamond's journey becomes a permanent story, impossible to fake or alter. The pharmaceutical industry uses blockchain to combat counterfeit drugs, a problem that kills over 1 million people annually. Each package gets a unique identifier recorded on blockchain. Scan a QR code with your phone, and you can verify your medication's entire journey from factory to pharmacy. It's literally a matter of life and death made safer by distributed ledgers. Fashion brands use blockchain to fight counterfeits and promote sustainability. Stella McCartney partnered with Google to create a tool tracking the environmental impact of fashion production on blockchain. LVMH, Prada, and Cartier created the Aura Blockchain Consortium, giving luxury goods digital certificates of authenticity. Your Gucci bag could come with a digital passport proving its authenticity, tracked from the Italian leather tannery to the boutique on Fifth Avenue. Music and blockchain have formed an interesting symphony. Musicians like Imogen Heap have experimented with releasing music directly on blockchain, cutting out record labels and streaming services. Each play generates automatic micropayments to everyone involved: the singer, songwriter, producer, even the studio where it was recorded. Smart contracts divide royalties instantly and transparently, solving an industry problem that has existed since the first phonograph. But adoption has been slow. Established artists have little incentive to disrupt a system that already benefits them. New artists struggle to get attention in a decentralized system without marketing muscle. It's a classic innovator's dilemma. The technology exists, but the human systems around it resist change. Real estate, that most physical of assets, has found surprising uses for digital blockchain. In 2017, a property in Kiev, Ukraine, became the first real estate sale conducted entirely on blockchain. The apartment sold for $60,000, with the ownership transfer recorded on the Ethereum blockchain. No paper deeds, no lengthy closings at lawyers' offices, just cryptographic proof of ownership. Vermont, Wyoming, and other U.S. states now recognize blockchain records for real estate transactions. Imagine buying a house as easily as purchasing something on Amazon, with ownership transferring instantly and indisputably. The technology is ready. It's the centuries-old legal systems that need updating. Healthcare represents both blockchain's greatest promise and its greatest challenge. Medical records scattered across different hospitals, doctors' offices, and insurance companies create a fragmented picture of patient health. Blockchain could create a unified health record owned by the patient, accessible to authorized providers anywhere, anytime. But healthcare data is intensely personal and heavily regulated. Once medical data is on a blockchain, it's there forever. What happens if someone's HIV status or mental health history becomes permanently recorded on an immutable ledger? The very permanence that makes blockchain secure becomes a liability with sensitive health information. Some projects thread this needle carefully. Medrec, developed at MIT, stores not the medical records themselves, but pointers to where records are stored, with access controlled by smart contracts. It's like having a card catalog for your health data, showing where everything is without exposing the actual information. Voting on blockchain tantalizes with the promise of unhackable, transparent elections. Several small-scale trials have occurred. In 2018, West Virginia allowed overseas military personnel to vote via blockchain in the midterm elections. Utah County, Utah, used blockchain for their 2020 presidential primary. Estonia, unsurprisingly, has explored blockchain voting for shareholders and companies. Yet cryptographers and security experts remain skeptical. Online voting, even with blockchain, introduces risks that paper ballots avoid. How do you ensure someone isn't being coerced to vote a certain way in their living room? How do you prevent malware on personal devices from changing votes before they reach the blockchain? The consensus among experts: blockchain might secure the recording of votes, but it can't solve all of voting security challenges. Academic credentials on blockchain address a global problem of fake degrees. MIT has issued digital diplomas on blockchain since 2017. The Università di Cagliari in Italy, the University of Bahrain, and others have followed. Employers can instantly verify a job applicant's education without calling registrars or waiting for transcripts. In countries where document forgery is common, blockchain credentials provide certainty in a sea of doubt. The energy sector has discovered blockchain applications beyond cryptocurrency mining. In Brooklyn, neighbors trade solar energy using blockchain. If your rooftop panels produce excess electricity on a sunny day, you can sell it directly to your neighbor whose panels are shaded, with a transaction recorded on blockchain. No utility company middleman, just peer-to-peer energy trading. In Australia, Power Ledger enables similar energy trading on a larger scale. Communities with renewable energy can trade excess power, creating microgrids more resilient than centralized power systems. Imagine your community becoming energy independent, with every kilowatt-hour tracked and traded on blockchain. Carbon credits and environmental projects use blockchain to ensure transparency. When a company claims to offset its carbon by planting trees, how do you verify those trees actually exist and survive? Blockchain projects now track individual trees, with IoT sensors monitoring their growth, health, and carbon absorption. Each ton of CO2 absorbed becomes a tradable token, creating a transparent market for carbon offsetting. The art world beyond NFTs has embraced blockchain for provenance tracking. Artery maintains blockchain records for physical artworks, recording every sale, exhibition, and restoration. When a Monet changes hands for millions, its entire history travels with it on the blockchain. This combats art forgery and helps recover stolen works. If a stolen painting appears at auction, its blockchain record immediately reveals its illegitimate journey. Now, let's gentle our minds and consider the social and philosophical implications of blockchain technology. We're witnessing the birth of a new form of trust, not trust in institutions or individuals, but trust in mathematics and consensus mechanisms. It's a profound shift in how humanity organizes itself. For thousands of years, we've relied on trusted third parties, banks to hold our money, governments to record property ownership, notaries to witness agreements. Blockchain asks, what if we didn't need these intermediaries? What if trust could be automated, distributed, decentralized? This shift isn't just technical, it's deeply political. The cypherpunks of the 1990s, digital privacy advocates who laid blockchain's philosophical groundwork, weren't just building technology. They were imagining a different society. Eric Hughes wrote in a Cypherpunks manifesto in 1993, Privacy is necessary for an open society in the electronic age. They saw cryptography as a tool for individual empowerment against institutional power. But blockchain has created its own power structures. Whales, individuals or organizations holding vast amounts of cryptocurrency, can manipulate markets with single trades. Mining has concentrated in large pools, raising questions about decentralization. The decentralized ideal often meets centralized reality. Consider the environmental philosophy of blockchain. Bitcoin mining's energy consumption sparks heated debate. Critics see waste, comparing Bitcoin to a country-sized coal plant running to maintain a speculative asset. Defenders argue Bitcoin incentivizes renewable energy development and provides financial tools to billions without bank access. The truth, as always, lies somewhere between. The generational divide in blockchain adoption tells its own story. Digital natives who grew up with the internet intuitively understand digital ownership. To them, owning a digital sword in a game or a cryptocurrency feels as real as owning a physical object. Older generations, who built wealth through physical assets and traditional investments, often struggle to see value in purely digital assets. This divide extends globally. In countries with stable currencies and trustworthy institutions, blockchain might seem like a solution looking for a problem. But in nations with hyperinflation, capital controls, or corrupt bureaucracies, blockchain offers escape routes from failing systems. Your perspective on blockchain often depends on your trust in existing institutions. Women remain underrepresented in blockchain, making up only 5 to 7% of cryptocurrency investors and an even smaller percentage of blockchain developers. This gender gap matters because technology, designed primarily by one demographic, often fails to serve others. Some organizations work to bridge this gap. Sheffy teaches women about DeFi. Women in blockchain advocates for inclusion, but progress remains slow. The story of blockchain includes remarkable women often overlooked. Elizabeth Stark founded Lightning Labs, developing Bitcoin's Lightning Network. Kathleen Brightman co-founded Tezos, a major blockchain platform. Meltem Demirors became a leading cryptocurrency advocate and educator. Dr. Jane Thomason works on blockchain applications for social impact in developing nations. Their contributions remind us that blockchain's future needs diverse voices. Cultural attitudes toward blockchain vary dramatically. In Silicon Valley, blockchain evangelists preach disruption and decentralization. In Wall Street, firms quietly build blockchain infrastructure while publicly expressing skepticism. In Berlin, a thriving blockchain art scene explores digital creativity. In Singapore, the government actively promotes blockchain while maintaining strict financial controls. Religious communities have grappled with blockchain's implications. Islamic scholars debate whether cryptocurrency speculation violates prohibitions against gambling and excessive uncertainty, gharar. Some argue blockchain's transparency aligns with Islamic principles of fair trade. The Catholic Church has hosted blockchain conferences exploring applications for charity transparency. Buddhist communities discuss whether digital assets align with principles of non-attachment. The mental health impacts of cryptocurrency trading deserve consideration. The 24/7 nature of crypto markets, unlike traditional markets that close on weekends, creates constant pressure. Stories abound of people checking prices obsessively, losing sleep over volatility, experiencing euphoria and despair as fortunes fluctuate. Diamond hands and hodling, community terms for holding despite volatility, become psychological coping mechanisms. The language of blockchain itself reflects its cultural impact. HODL originated from a drunk forum post misspelling hold, but became a rallying cry. To the moon expresses optimistic price predictions. FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, dismisses criticism. This linguistic evolution shows how blockchain has created not just technology, but community and identity. Privacy versus transparency presents blockchain's fundamental paradox. Every Bitcoin transaction is public, traceable forever. Yet users are pseudonymous, identified only by cryptographic addresses. It's simultaneously more transparent than cash and more private than credit cards. This duality challenges traditional notions of financial privacy. Privacy coins like Monero and Cash use advanced cryptography to hide transaction details. Imagine cash that can teleport anywhere instantly. That's the promise and peril of privacy coins. Legitimate users seek financial privacy. Criminals exploit the same features. Regulators struggle to balance privacy rights with law enforcement needs. The right to be forgotten, enshrined in European law, conflicts with blockchain's immutability. If someone's personal data ends up on a blockchain, it's there forever. No court order can remove it. This permanence could preserve important records or violate personal privacy, depending on perspective and context. Blockchain governance itself raises fascinating questions. Who decides how a blockchain evolves? In traditional companies, boards and executives make decisions. In blockchain, governance varies wildly. Bitcoin changes require near-unanimous agreement among miners, developers, and users, making change glacially slow but highly democratic. Other blockchains have on-chain governance, where token holders vote on proposals, creating digital democracies with their own politics and power struggles. The DAO hack mentioned earlier sparked blockchain's greatest governance crisis. The Ethereum community's decision to fork the blockchain was democratic in principle. The majority chose the fork, but it violated the principle of immutability, showing that code is law only until the community decides otherwise. This tension between ideals and pragmatism continues throughout blockchain. Now, as our journey through the blockchain landscape continues to wind like a peaceful river, let's explore the human stories behind the technology. Every innovation has its heroes and villains, its triumphs and tragedies, and blockchain's story is particularly rich with colorful characters. Consider the mystery of Satoshi Nakamoto, blockchain's phantom founder. Over 1 million bitcoins, worth tens of billions of dollars, sit unmoved in wallets believed to belong to Satoshi. Imagine having billions in digital gold, but never spending a penny. Is Satoshi dead? Are the keys lost? Or does someone somewhere possess the power to crash the entire cryptocurrency market by moving those ancient coins? Suspects abound in the quest to unmask Satoshi. Dorian Nakamoto, a Japanese-American engineer, denied being Satoshi despite sharing the name. Nick Szabo, our BitGold inventor, writes with similar style but denies involvement. Hal Finney, the first person to receive a Bitcoin transaction from Satoshi, took any secrets to his grave when Al's claimed him in 2014. Craig Wright, an Australian computer scientist, claims to be Satoshi, but has failed to provide convincing proof, leading to widespread skepticism and legal battles. The Winklevoss twins, Cameron and Tyler, tell a story of redemption through blockchain. After their legal battle with Mark Zuckerberg over Facebook's founding, they took their settlement money and bought bitcoins when they cost $8 each. Their prescient investment made them billionaires, and they founded Gemini, a major cryptocurrency exchange. From Harvard rowing crew to Facebook lawsuit to crypto billionaires, their journey reads like a Hollywood script, which indeed it became in the social network. Vitalik Buterin's story inspires with its blend of genius and humanity. Born in Russia, raised in Canada, Vitalik learned about Bitcoin from his father at 17. He wrote for Bitcoin magazine, earning 5 Bitcoins per article, worth about $4 each at the time. When World of Warcraft nerfed his favorite character's abilities, he realized the danger of centralized control and became passionate about decentralization. At 19, Vitalik dropped out of university after receiving a $100,000 Thiel Fellowship. He traveled the world, crashing on couches, writing the Ethereum white paper. Today, he's worth billions, but lives modestly, donating millions to charity. He speaks at conferences, wearing unicorn shirts and rainbow bags, tweeting about everything from blockchain scaling to life extension to his love of the card game Magic the Gathering. Roger Ver, nicknamed Bitcoin Jesus for his early evangelism, represents blockchain's ideological battles. An early investor who became a billionaire, Ver promoted Bitcoin as peer-to-peer cash for the world. When Bitcoin's community chose small blocks to maintain decentralization over Ver's preference for larger blocks to enable more transactions, he supported the Bitcoin Cash fork. The resulting hash wars saw communities splitting, friendships ending, and billions of dollars in market value fluctuating based on ideological differences about block sizes. The story of Ross Ulbricht and the Silk Road darkens blockchain's narrative. Ulbricht created Silk Road, a dark web marketplace using Bitcoin for anonymous transactions, mostly selling illegal drugs. Silk Road processed over $1 billion in transactions before the FBI shut it down in 2013. Ulbricht, arrested in a San Francisco library, received 2 life sentences plus 40 years without parole. He was 29 years old. The Silk Road saga raises uncomfortable questions. Did Bitcoin enable crime, or did criminals simply adopt useful technology? Ulbricht's supporters argue his sentence is excessive for running a website. Critics point to overdoses from drugs sold on Silk Road. Ulbricht continues to maintain his innocence regarding murder-for-hire charges that were dropped but influenced his sentencing. Michael Saylor, CEO of MicroStrategy, embodies corporate Bitcoin maximalism. In 2020, he converted his software company into essentially a Bitcoin investment fund, buying over 150,000 Bitcoins with corporate funds and borrowed money. He tweets Bitcoin advocacy daily, hosts Bitcoin conferences, and argues every company should hold Bitcoin. His company's stock price now correlates more with Bitcoin's price than with its software business. The story of Do Kwon and Terra Luna's collapse in 2022 serves as a cautionary tale. Kwon created a stablecoin called Terrahost, supposedly worth $1, backed by a complex algorithmic mechanism rather than actual dollars. He taunted critics on Twitter, calling them poor and displaying shocking arrogance. When the mechanism failed, $60 billion in value evaporated in days. Kwon fled South Korea, was arrested in Montenegro, and faces fraud charges in multiple countries. Women pioneers in blockchain deserve more recognition than they receive. Caitlin Long left a 22-year Wall Street career to promote blockchain in Wyoming, helping pass dozens of blockchain-friendly laws. She founded Avante Bank, bridging traditional finance and cryptocurrency. Perry Ann Boring founded the Chamber of Digital Commerce, becoming a leading blockchain advocate in Washington. Amber Baldet left J.P. Morgan's blockchain division to found Clovier, making blockchain tools more accessible. International stories highlight blockchain's global impact. In Afghanistan, Roya Mahboob used blockchain to pay female employees when cultural restrictions prevented them from having bank accounts. The Taliban's return to power ended the program, but it demonstrated blockchain's potential for financial inclusion in restrictive societies. Venezuela's hyperinflation created unexpected blockchain adoption. When the bolivar lost 99% of its value, Venezuelans turned to Bitcoin and stable coins for savings. Local Bitcoins, a peer-to-peer trading platform, saw Venezuelan trading volumes explode. Families received remittances in cryptocurrency when traditional channels failed. Even the government launched its own cryptocurrency, the Petro, though adoption remained minimal despite being allegedly backed by oil reserves. In Kenya, blockchain intersects with the famous M-Pesa mobile money system. While M-Pesa isn't blockchain-based, it prepared Kenyans for digital finance. Now, Kenyan developers build blockchain applications for agriculture, where farmers can get loans based on blockchain-recorded harvest data, or insurance that automatically pays out when satellite data shows drought conditions. The small nation of Bermuda has positioned itself as a blockchain hub, passing comprehensive cryptocurrency regulations and accepting tax payments in USD coin, a stablecoin. Premier David Burt sees blockchain as Bermuda's economic future, transforming the island from offshore finance to digital asset innovation. Let's shift our attention to the technical evolution happening right now, the cutting edge where blockchain's future is being forged. Layer 2 solutions represent blockchain's attempt to have its cake and eat it too, maintaining security while achieving speed. Think of Layer 2 as building express highways above city streets. The streets, Layer 1 blockchain, remain for final settlement, but most traffic flows on the faster highways above. The Lightning Network for Bitcoin enables instant micropayments. Imagine opening a bar tab. You don't pay for each drink immediately, but settle the total at closing time. Lightning opens payment channels between parties, allowing unlimited transactions that only settle to the main blockchain when the channel closes. Coffee purchases, online tipping, even streaming payments where you pay for content by the second become possible. Ethereum's Layer 2 ecosystem has exploded with solutions like Arbitrum, Optimism, and Polygon. These networks process transactions quickly and cheaply, periodically submitting summaries to Ethereum's main chain. It's like taking notes during a lecture and only writing the summary in your permanent notebook. Users get speed and low fees while maintaining Ethereum security. Zero-knowledge proofs represent cryptographic magic that sounds impossible, proving you know something without revealing what you know. Imagine proving you're over 21 without showing your birth date, or proving you have enough money for a purchase without revealing your balance. ZK Rollups use this technology to bundle hundreds of transactions into a single proof, dramatically increasing throughput while maintaining privacy. The technical details would fill textbooks, but the implications are profound. Privacy and scalability, long thought mutually exclusive, can coexist. Projects like Ascasync and Starknet implement these concepts, processing thousands of transactions per second while keeping details private. It's like having a Swiss bank account that's simultaneously transparent to regulators and private to everyone else. Cytocaines offer another scaling approach. These are separate blockchains that connect to a main chain, like tributaries feeding a river. Assets can move between chains through bridges, allowing experimentation without affecting the main chain security. Bitcoin's Liquid Network and Ethereum's Polygon POS chain are prominent examples. Sharding, mentioned earlier, divides blockchain into pieces that process transactions in parallel. Imagine a library where instead of one librarian handling all requests, multiple librarians each handle specific sections. Ethereum's long-term roadmap includes sharding, potentially increasing capacity to 100,000 transactions per second. Near Protocol and Elrond already implement sharding, though with different approaches and trade-offs. Interoperability protocols aim to connect blockchain's isolated islands. Polkadot, created by Ethereum co-founder Gavin Wood, uses a relay chain connecting multiple parachains, each optimized for different purposes. One chain might focus on privacy, another on smart contracts, another on gaming, all able to communicate seamlessly. Cosmos takes a different approach with its inter-blockchain communication protocol, allowing independent blockchains to transfer assets and data. It's like creating a universal language that all blockchains can speak. The vision: a network of blockchains as interconnected as today's internet. Cross-chain bridges, despite security challenges, continue evolving. New designs include optimistic bridges that assume transactions are valid unless challenged, and liquidity networks where assets never actually cross chains but are locked and minted on destination chains. It's complex financial engineering aimed at making blockchain boundaries invisible to users. Quantum resistance preoccupies blockchain developers thinking long-term. Current cryptography relies on mathematical problems that classical computers can't solve efficiently, but quantum computers potentially could. Post-quantum cryptography uses different mathematical foundations believed secure against quantum attacks. Some blockchains already implement quantum-resistant features. QAN platform uses quantum-resistant algorithms from day one. Others plan transitions when quantum threats become imminent. It's insurance against a future threat, like building earthquake-resistant buildings in seismically stable areas. Unnecessary today, but potentially critical tomorrow. Storage solutions address blockchain's growing size. The Interplanetary File System, IPFS, provides distributed storage where blockchain stores only references to files, not files themselves. Filecoin incentivizes IPFS storage with cryptocurrency rewards. Arweave offers permanent storage with a one-time payment, like buying rather than renting digital real estate. These solutions enable blockchain applications previously impossible. Decentralized social media, where your posts can't be censored or deleted. Academic journals, where research is permanently preserved. Video platforms without central control. The infrastructure exists. Adoption remains the challenge. Now, as we drift deeper into our blockchain contemplation, let's consider the creative explosion blockchain has enabled in art, gaming, and digital culture. The NFT phenomenon of 20212022 wasn't just about expensive JPEGs. It represented a fundamental shift in how we create, own, and value digital culture. Beeple's $69 million sale grabbed headlines, but thousands of artists found audiences and income through NFTs. Digital artists who previously struggled to monetize their work suddenly had a marketplace. Photographers sold limited editions of digital photos. Musicians released albums as NFTs. Writers published stories where each copy was unique. The traditional art world's gatekeepers, galleries, auction houses, critics, suddenly seemed less essential. But the NFT boom also produced absurdities. Pixelated punks selling for millions. Animated apes becoming status symbols. Celebrity cash grabs with hastily produced collections. The market's exuberance led to an inevitable crash, with most NFT collections losing 95% or more of their value. Yet beneath the speculation, real innovation occurred. Generative art found its perfect medium in blockchain. Artists like Tyler Hobbs and Dmitry Cherniak create algorithms that generate unique artworks. When someone mints an NFT from their collection, the algorithm produces a one-of-a-kind piece. It's like planting seeds that grow into unique but related flowers. Art becomes collaboration between human creativity, computer randomness, and collector participation. Gaming NFTs promised players true ownership of in-game items. That legendary sword you earned after months of playing, it's yours to keep, sell, or transfer to another game. At least that was the promise. Reality proved more complex. Games shutting down left players with NFTs pointing to non-existent servers. The promise of interoperable items, using your sword from one game in another, remains largely unfulfilled due to technical and design challenges. Play-to-earn gaming created economic opportunities and controversies. Axie Infinity players in the Philippines earned living wages breeding and battling digital creatures. But when the game's economy collapsed, many lost their income source. Critics called it exploitation, digital colonialism, where wealthy players hired poor players to grind for tokens. Supporters saw economic opportunity in countries with few alternatives. Virtual land and metaverse platforms like Decentraland and The Sandbox sold for millions. Brands built virtual stores. Musicians held virtual concerts. The proximity to famous virtual neighbors drove prices. It seemed absurd, paying real money for fake land. But is it more absurd than paying millions for domain names or social media handles? Digital real estate follows its own logic. Soulbound tokens, proposed by Vitalik Buterin, represent non-transferable blockchain credentials. Unlike NFTs you can sell, these permanently attach to an identity. Imagine blockchain diplomas, professional certifications, or reputation scores that can't be bought or transferred. They could create genuine digital identity beyond financial speculation. Dynamic NFTs change based on external data. A digital artwork might change with the weather, sports scores, or blockchain activity. Gaming NFTs level up with use. Music NFTs unlock new tracks over time. The static JPEG evolves into living digital objects responding to the world. Fractionalized NFTs allow collective ownership of expensive digital assets. Can't afford a whole CryptoPunk? Buy a fraction. It's like art investment funds, but automated and accessible. Though securities regulations complicate implementation, the concept democratizes high-value digital asset ownership. The creator economy found new models in blockchain. Artists receive royalties automatically when their NFTs resell. Musicians stream payments directly to collaborators. Writers publish stories where readers become co-owners. The intermediaries that traditionally captured value between creators and consumers face disruption. But challenges abound. Most NFT marketplaces are centralized, contradicting decentralization ideals. When OpenSea, the largest NFT marketplace, freezes stolen NFTs, it reveals centralized control over supposedly decentralized assets. The images themselves usually aren't stored on blockchain, but on centralized servers that could disappear. You might own the NFT, but the artwork it points to could vanish like a broken link. Cultural appropriation and art theft plague NFT markets. Artists find their work minted as NFTs without permission. A generated art raises questions about creativity and ownership. When anyone can mint anything as an NFT, how do you determine legitimacy? Environmental concerns about NFT energy consumption sparked backlash. Artists faced criticism for contributing to climate change. Some platforms switched to less energy-intensive blockchains or purchased carbon offsets, but the reputational damage lingered. The future of digital art and blockchain remains unwritten. Will NFTs evolve beyond speculation into genuine digital culture infrastructure? Will virtual worlds become meaningful spaces for human interaction? Or will they remain digital ghost towns, monuments to speculative excess? Time will tell, but the experiments continue, each failure teaching lessons, each success opening possibilities. As our exploration continues, let's examine blockchain's role in reimagining fundamental economic concepts: money itself, value exchange, and economic coordination. Decentralized finance, or DeFi, represents perhaps blockchain's most ambitious attempt to rebuild financial infrastructure from first principles. Imagine banks without buildings, loans without loan officers, exchanges without corporations running them. DeFi protocols are autonomous programs running on blockchains, executing financial services through code rather than companies. MakerDAO, one of the first major DeFi protocols, lets users lock cryptocurrency as collateral and borrow stablecoins against it. No credit check, no paperwork, no human approval needed. The code evaluates your collateral and issues a loan instantly. Compound finance turned lending into a protocol where interest rates adjust automatically based on supply and demand. Lend your cryptocurrency to a pool, earn interest. Borrow from the pool, pay interest. Rates update every Ethereum block, about every 13 seconds. It's like a global, permissionless money market running on autopilot. Uniswap revolutionized trading by eliminating order books entirely. Instead of matching buyers with sellers, Uniswap uses liquidity pools where traders swap against reserves provided by liquidity providers. The price adjusts mathematically with each trade. Anyone can list any token instantly, no permission needed. It's radically open, enabling both innovation and scams with equal ease. Yield farming emerged as DeFi's gold rush. Users moved assets between protocols, chasing the highest returns. Annual percentage yields of 1,000% or more weren't uncommon, though they rarely lasted long. It resembled musical chairs with money, profitable for early participants, but unsustainable long-term. The summer of 2020 became known as DeFi Summer, when billions flooded into these protocols. Total value locked in DeFi grew from $1 billion to $20 billion in just 4 months. Anonymous developers launched protocols with food names: SushiSwap, PancakeSwap, BakerySwap, in a bizarre trend that somehow became convention. But DeFi's complexity creates risks. Smart contract bugs have lost hundreds of millions. Flash loan attacks exploit protocol logic to drain funds in single transactions. Impermanent loss confuses liquidity providers who can lose money even when tokens appreciate. Rug pulls see anonymous developers disappear with user funds. The learning curve is steep, and mistakes are costly. Stablecoins became DeFi's foundation, cryptocurrencies designed to maintain stable value. Tether, despite controversies about its backing, processes over $50 billion in daily volume. USD Coin, backed by regulated financial institutions, provides a more transparent alternative. Algorithmic stablecoins, like the failed Terra's, attempted stability through code rather than collateral, with catastrophic results. Central bank digital currencies represent government's response to cryptocurrency innovation. China's digital yuan already processes billions in transactions. The European Central Bank develops a digital euro. The Federal Reserve explores a digital dollar. These aren't cryptocurrencies. They're digital versions of existing currencies, centrally controlled but using blockchain efficiency. CBDCs raise profound questions about privacy and control. China's digital yuan enables complete transaction surveillance and programmable money that expires or restricts purchases. It's powerful technology that could enhance financial inclusion or enable authoritarian control, depending on implementation. The concept of programmable money extends beyond government currencies. Imagine money that can only be spent on certain items, automatically donates to charity with each transaction, or returns to the sender if unused. Smart contracts make money itself programmable, enabling both innovation and control. Decentralized autonomous organizations, or DAOs, attempt to reimagine human coordination. Instead of corporations with hierarchies, DAOs use tokens and smart contracts for decision-making. Token holders vote on proposals, treasury spending, and strategic direction. It's democracy meets capitalism in code. Constitution DAO raised $47 million in a week to bid on an original copy of the U.S. Constitution. They lost the auction, but demonstrated crowdfunding's power. Please DAO bought the Wu-Tang Clan album that Martin Shkreli once owned. CITYDAO bought land in Wyoming. These experiments test whether internet strangers can effectively coordinate through code. But DAOs face challenges. Low participation rates plague governance. Most token holders never vote. Wealthy members dominate decisions through token concentration. Legal status remains unclear. Are DAOs corporations, partnerships, or something entirely new? The idealism of decentralized governance meets the reality of human apathy and inequality. Protocol treasuries manage billions in assets, governed by token holders rather than boards of directors. Uniswap's treasury holds over $2 billion. These funds support development, provide grants, and ensure protocol sustainability. It's a new model for funding public goods, infrastructure owned by users rather than corporations. The intersection of DeFi and traditional finance, called TradFi, accelerates. JP Morgan uses blockchain for repo transactions. Goldman Sachs trades Bitcoin derivatives. PayPal enables cryptocurrency purchases. Traditional finance doesn't fight DeFi anymore. It co-ops and adapts it. But regulatory challenges loom. Are DeFi tokens securities? Who's responsible when smart contracts fail? How do you enforce know your customer rules on permissionless protocols? Regulators struggle to apply 20th century rules to 21st century technology. The future might see hybrid models, decentralized protocols with regulatory compliance, traditional banks offering DeFi services, government currencies running on public blockchains. The boundaries between DeFi and TradFi blur as each adopts the other's innovations. As we float deeper into contemplation, let's explore blockchain's potential for social impact and global development. Beyond speculation and financial innovation, Blockchain offers tools for solving real-world problems in unexpected ways. Digital identity remains inaccessible to over 1 billion people worldwide who lack official identification documents. Without ID, you can't open bank accounts, get jobs, or access government services. You become invisible to modern systems. Blockchain-based identity could provide self-sovereign identity, digital, ID owned and controlled by individuals rather than governments. The ID 2020 Alliance, backed by Microsoft, Accenture, and others, develops blockchain identity solutions for refugees and stateless persons. Imagine crossing borders with identity verified by cryptography rather than papers that can be lost, stolen, or destroyed. Your identity becomes truly yours, portable and permanent. But digital identity also enables surveillance. China's blockchain-based identity system tracks citizens comprehensively. The same technology that liberates in one context oppresses in another. Technology is neutral. Its application determines its impact. Land registry on blockchain addresses corruption and disputes in countries with weak property rights. In Honduras, Georgia, and Sweden, pilot programs record land titles on blockchains. Immutable records prevent officials from fraudulently transferring property or demanding bribes to process paperwork. Yet technology alone doesn't solve systemic corruption. If corrupt officials control the blockchain system, they can corrupt it from the start. Garbage in, garbage out applies to blockchains as much as any database. Technology must combine with institutional reform for real impact. Supply chain transparency through blockchain combats child labor, conflict minerals, and environmental destruction. Consumers can verify their coffee is fair trade, their diamonds aren't funding wars, their seafood wasn't caught illegally. Each step from source to store is recorded immutably. But verification depends on accurate initial data entry. If someone lies about coffee being organic when it enters the blockchain, the lie becomes immutably recorded truth. Blockchain verifies data integrity, not data accuracy. Physical world verification remains challenging. Charitable giving benefits from blockchain transparency. Donors can track their contributions from donation to deployment. GiveDirectly uses blockchain to transfer cash directly to recipients in Africa, eliminating intermediaries who might skim funds. Every dollar's journey is visible on the blockchain. The United Nations World Food Program uses blockchain to distribute aid to refugees. Instead of physical vouchers that can be stolen or counterfeited, refugees receive blockchain-based credits redeemable at local merchants. Over 100,000 Syrian refugees in Jordan receive assistance through this system. Microfinance and lending pools enable financial access for the unbanked. Someone in Kenya can receive a loan from a lender in Korea, with terms enforced by smart contracts rather than legal systems. Blockchain becomes financial infrastructure for those excluded from traditional banking. But cryptocurrency volatility complicates these use cases. A loan that seems reasonable when Bitcoin is worth $60,000 becomes crushing debt when it drops to $20,000. Stablecoins help, but introduce their own risks. Financial inclusion through volatile assets might harm more than help. Intellectual property protection for creators in developing countries could be revolutionized by blockchain. Musicians in Nigeria can register songs on blockchain, proving creation dates and ownership. Authors in India can establish copyright without expensive legal processes. The permanent, time-stamped record provides evidence in disputes. Educational credentials on blockchain help refugees and migrants prove qualifications when fleeing conflict leaves documents behind. Your engineering degree from Aleppo University, recorded on blockchain, remains verifiable even if the university is destroyed. Knowledge becomes portable across borders and conflicts. Healthcare records on blockchain could save lives in emergencies when patient history is crucial but unavailable. Imagine unconscious accident victims whose medical allergies, conditions, and medications are instantly accessible to emergency responders through blockchain records. The technology exists. Privacy and implementation remain challenges. Scientific research benefits from blockchain's immutable record keeping. Research data, once published to blockchain, can't be altered retroactively. This combats scientific fraud where researchers manipulate data to support desired conclusions. Reproducibility, science's foundation, strengthens when original data is permanently preserved. Carbon credits and environmental markets gain credibility through blockchain tracking. When companies claim carbon neutrality through offset purchases, blockchain provides transparent proof. Each ton of CO2 absorbed by reforestation projects becomes a unique, tradable, verifiable token. Greenwashing becomes harder when environmental claims require blockchain proof. But blockchain's environmental impact complicates its environmental applications. Using energy-intensive technology to track environmental protection seems contradictory. The transition to proof-of-stake and renewable energy for mining partially addresses this, but the irony remains. Social media on blockchain promises uncensorable communication and user-owned data. Platforms like Steemit and Mines reward content creators with cryptocurrency. Your posts, likes, and connections belong to you, portable between platforms. No corporation can delete your account or sell your data without permission. Yet decentralized social media struggles with content moderation. Without central authority to remove illegal content, harmful material persists. The same uncensorability that protects dissidents also protects harassers. Balancing freedom and safety remains unsolved. Let's pause our journey for a moment and consider the smaller, more intimate applications of blockchain that touch daily life in unexpected ways. Sometimes the most profound changes come not from grand revolutions, but from subtle improvements to mundane tasks. Consider warranties and product authentication. That expensive handbag, power tool, or electronic device you bought, proving its authenticity and warranty status typically requires keeping receipts, registration cards, and dealing with customer service. Several luxury brands now embed NFC chips that link to blockchain records. Tap your phone to your product and instantly verify its authenticity, warranty status, and complete history. RINE provides digital passports for luxury goods, turning static products into connected experiences. The second-hand market transforms when product history is transparent. Buying a used car? Its blockchain record shows every service, accident, and modification. That vintage watch at the estate sale? Its blockchain certificate proves authenticity and provenance. Trust, the scarcest commodity in peer-to-peer transactions, becomes algorithmically verifiable. Ticketing for events demonstrates blockchain's anti-counterfeiting potential. Get Protocol has processed millions of tickets on blockchain, making scalping and counterfeiting impossible. Each ticket is a unique token tied to an identity. Smart contracts can enforce rules like maximum resale prices or artist royalties on secondary sales. Imagine concert tickets that can't be scalped for 10x face value, or sports tickets where season ticket holders can safely rent their seats for games they can't attend. The music industry's royalty problem, where artists wait months for payment and can't track their earnings accurately, finds solutions in blockchain. Audius, a decentralized music platform, streams payments directly to artists. Each play generates micropayments, split automatically between performers, songwriters, and producers according to smart contract rules. No more waiting for quarterly statements or wondering if streaming services are reporting accurately. Personal data management could flip from corporate extraction to user control. Brave Browser rewards users with cryptocurrency for viewing ads. Ocean Protocol lets individuals sell their data directly to researchers. Your browsing history, shopping preferences, and personal information become assets you control and monetize, rather than products tech companies harvest without compensation. The gig economy meets blockchain and platforms attempting to disintermediate Uber and Airbnb. Arcade City connects drivers with riders peer-to-peer. Origin Protocol enables decentralized marketplaces for sharing economy services. Without corporate intermediaries taking 20 to 30% commissions, providers earn more and users pay less. The challenge lies in achieving network effects without centralized marketing and user acquisition. Now, let's wander into the realm of predictions and possibilities, where blockchain's future unfolds in ways both exciting and uncertain. Predicting technology's trajectory is notoriously difficult. We tend to overestimate short-term impact while underestimating long-term transformation. The metaverse concept, popularized by Facebook's rebranding to Meta, inherently requires blockchain for true digital ownership. Without blockchain, virtual items remain locked in corporate silos. Your Fortnite skins can't transfer to Minecraft. Your World of Warcraft gold has no value outside Blizzard's servers. Blockchain enables true ownership and interoperability, though technical standards for cross-platform compatibility remain nascent. Imagine attending virtual conferences where your avatar wears NFT clothing, carries reputation tokens from past achievements, and owns virtual real estate where you host meetings. It sounds like science fiction, yet companies invest billions building this future. Whether it represents evolution or escapism remains debated. Artificial intelligence and blockchain converge in fascinating ways. AI models trained on blockchain-verified data avoid the garbage in, garbage out problem plaguing machine learning. Smart contracts could manage agents that autonomously provide services and receive payment. SingularityNet aims to create a decentralized marketplace for AI services where algorithms themselves become economic actors. But AI also threatens blockchain. AI-generated deepfakes challenge blockchain's promise of truth and verification. If I can create perfect forgeries, how do we trust any digital record? The arms race between AI creation and blockchain verification accelerates. Quantum computing, as mentioned, looms as both threat and opportunity. Quantum computers could break current encryption, but also enable new forms of quantum-secured blockchain. The transition period, when some actors have quantum computers while others don't, could be chaotic. Imagine if some people had skeleton keys that opened any lock, while others still used regular keys. The Internet of Things meets blockchain in supply chain tracking, smart cities, and autonomous vehicles. Your refrigerator could order groceries automatically, paying with cryptocurrency. Self-driving cars could pay for their own parking, tolls, and charging. Cities could use blockchain to manage everything from traffic lights to waste collection. Each IoT device becomes an economic agent, transacting automatically according to programmed rules. But IoT plus blockchain also enables unprecedented surveillance. Every device becomes a potential spy, recording interactions immutably. The smart city utopia could become a panopticon prison where every movement is tracked forever. Technology's dual nature, liberator and oppressor, manifests clearly in IoT blockchain convergence. Brain-computer interfaces, still in early development, could eventually interact with blockchain for thought-based transactions. Imagine authorizing payments or signing contracts with thoughts alone. Your neural patterns could become your private key. It sounds fantastical, yet companies like Neuralink work toward brain-computer integration. The implications for identity, security, and human nature itself boggle the mind. Space commerce might rely on blockchain for transactions between Earth, lunar colonies, and Mars settlements. When communication delays make real-time authorization impossible, blockchain's distributed consensus enables commerce across astronomical distances. The first interplanetary currency might be cryptocurrency, fitting for a technology often described as to the moon. Climate change solutions increasingly incorporate blockchain for carbon tracking, renewable energy trading, and environmental governance. ClimaDAO attempts to drive up carbon credit prices by buying and retiring credits. Reagan Network uses blockchain to fund regenerative agriculture. These experiments test whether code and incentives can address civilization-level challenges. The next financial crisis might involve cryptocurrency significantly. With billions invested in volatile assets, interconnected through complex DeFi protocols, a cascade of failures could ripple globally. Alternatively, cryptocurrency might provide refuge during traditional financial collapse, as it did for some during Turkey's lira crisis or Lebanon's banking collapse. Blockchain could cause the next crisis or provide escape from it, possibly both simultaneously. Generational wealth transfer presents an interesting use case. As cryptocurrency holders age, passing digital assets to heirs becomes crucial. Dead man switches could automatically transfer assets after prolonged inactivity. Multi-signature wallets could require multiple heirs to agree on distributions. Smart contracts could enforce complex inheritance rules without lawyers or courts. The unbanked population, still nearly 2 billion people globally, represents blockchain's most promising and challenging frontier. Giving someone in rural Africa or refugee camps access to global financial systems through just a phone could be transformative. But user experience, education, and infrastructure remain massive barriers. The technology exists. Making it accessible and usable doesn't. Digital nations and network states, proposed by technology thinkers. Imagine communities organized online first, physically second. Estonia's e-residency program hints at this future. Could we see blockchain-based nations with digital citizens, cryptocurrency taxes, and smart contract laws? It challenges fundamental assumptions about geography, sovereignty, and human organization. As our contemplation deepens like the night around us, let's consider blockchain's philosophical implications for concepts we rarely question: truth, trust, value, and identity itself. Truth, in blockchain context, becomes mathematically verifiable rather than socially constructed. A transaction either happened or didn't, provable through cryptographic proof rather than testimony or documentation. But this mathematical truth only extends to digital events. Blockchain can prove I sent you Bitcoin, but not why I sent it or what it meant. The human context around mathematical truth remains subjective and socially interpreted. Trust transforms from interpersonal faith to algorithmic certainty. You don't need to trust your transaction partner when smart contracts enforce terms automatically. But you must trust the code, the blockchain's consensus mechanism, the key management, the user interface. Trust doesn't disappear. It shifts from people to systems. Whether that's improvement depends on your faith in human nature versus technology. Value itself becomes programmatically defined. In traditional economics, value emerges from supply, demand, utility, and social agreement. In blockchain systems, value can be algorithmically determined. Automated market makers price assets through mathematical formulas. Governance tokens grant voting power proportional to holdings. NFTs create artificial scarcity through code. We're witnessing new forms of value creation that don't fit traditional economic models. Identity splits between physical and digital selves. Your blockchain addresses, transaction history, and digital asset holdings create a parallel identity, potentially more important than your physical one. In some online communities, your NFT profile picture carries more weight than your real face. Digital identity, self-sovereign and portable, might matter more than government-issued identity for digital natives. Property rights extend into purely digital realms. Owning Bitcoin means controlling private keys, abstract numbers with no physical existence. NFTs grant ownership of digital items with no tangible form. Virtual land in metaverses sells for millions, despite existing only as code. We're creating property rights for things that don't physically exist, challenging millennia-old concepts of ownership. Governance evolves from representative democracy to direct token-weighted voting. DAO members vote on every decision, no representatives needed. But token-based voting creates plutocracy, where wealth equals power. One token, one vote differs fundamentally for one person, one vote. These experiments test whether better governance models exist beyond traditional democracy. Time itself becomes blockchain-defined. Block timestamps create an immutable historical record. Block height becomes a universal clock, independent of time zones or calendars. Smart contracts execute based on block numbers rather than wall clock time. Blockchain creates its own temporal reality, ticking forward one block at a time. Privacy, paradoxically, becomes both more and less available. Blockchain transactions are pseudonymous, but permanently public. You can create unlimited addresses for privacy, but analytics companies increasingly link addresses to real identities. Zero-knowledge proofs enable private transactions, but most blockchains remain transparent. The privacy landscape becomes complex, requiring technical sophistication to navigate. Community formation accelerates around token ownership. Holding certain NFTs grants access to exclusive Discord servers. Governance tokens create stakeholder communities. Memecoins unite believers in shared jokes. These token-gated communities form and dissolve rapidly, creating new forms of social organization based on digital asset ownership. The nature of money itself comes into question. If anyone can create a token and declare it currency, what makes money real? Bitcoin's fixed supply challenges inflationary fiat currency. Stablecoins bridge digital and traditional money. CBDCs digitize government currency. The boundaries between money, assets, and instruments blur in the tokenized economy. Work transforms as DAOs enable new organization forms. Instead of joining companies, people contribute to multiple dues, earning tokens for contributions. Your job becomes a portfolio of protocol participation rather than singular employment. Geographic location matters less when organizations exist purely online. The 9-to-5 job might fade into history, replaced by fluid global token-incentivized contribution. Law struggles to adapt to code-based systems. Code is law sounds simple until bugs create unintended consequences. Smart contracts can't incorporate subjective concepts like good faith or reasonable effort. Legal systems developed over centuries must grapple with unstoppable programs executing automatically. The intersection of human law and algorithmic law creates unprecedented challenges. As we near the end of our blockchain journey tonight, feeling perhaps the gentle pull of approaching sleep, let's reflect on the human stories that will shape blockchain's future. Technology is never just about protocols and algorithms. It's about people, their dreams, struggles, and the societies they build. In a small village in rural India, a farmer checks her phone to see if the blockchain-based weather insurance has triggered payment after unexpected drought damaged her crops. The smart contract reads satellite data, confirms rainfall below threshold, and automatically sends compensation. No insurance adjusters, no claim forms, no waiting months for payment. Technology that seems complex in Silicon Valley becomes simple necessity in places where traditional systems fail. A Syrian refugee in a Jordanian camp buys groceries using iris scanning linked to blockchain food credits. His identity, his aid allocation, his purchase history, all secured on an immutable ledger that survives even if his physical documents are lost. The technology that traders use for million-dollar transactions also serves humanity's most vulnerable. In Lagos, Nigeria, a young artist uploads her digital paintings as NFTs, selling directly to collectors in London, Tokyo, and New York. Gallery gatekeepers who once ignored African artists become irrelevant. She prices her work in cryptocurrency, avoiding Nigeria's capital controls and currency instability. Her success inspires other African creators to embrace blockchain, creating a digital renaissance. An environmental scientist in Brazil uses blockchain to create verified carbon credits from rainforest preservation. Each hectare of protected forest becomes a digital asset, its carbon absorption measured by IoT sensors and recorded immutably. International corporations buy these credits, funding conservation through code rather than charity. A grandmother in South Korea carefully writes down 24 words, her cryptocurrency seed phrase, in her will, ensuring her grandchildren inherit her digital assets. She doesn't fully understand the technology, but she knows these words represent value she's accumulated for her family's future. A teenager in Amsterdam builds a DeFi protocol in her bedroom, deploying code that will eventually manage millions in assets. Geography, age, credentials, none matter in the permissionless world of blockchain development. Her code is judged solely on its merits, executing impartially for users worldwide. These human stories remind us that blockchain, despite its mathematical foundations and technological complexity, ultimately serves human needs and desires. Every transaction represents someone's hope, fear, ambition, or necessity. The challenges ahead are substantial. Scalability must improve for mainstream adoption. User experience needs simplification. Managing private keys and understanding gas fees shouldn't require technical expertise. Regulatory clarity must emerge from current confusion. Environmental concerns need addressing through renewable energy and efficient consensus mechanisms. Security must strengthen as attack sophistication increases. Yet the potential remains transformative. Blockchain could enable financial inclusion for billions. It might restore privacy in an age of surveillance. It could democratize access to investments, services, and opportunities. Smart contracts might reduce corruption and inefficiency. Decentralized systems could resist authoritarian control. Or blockchain might become another tool of oppression, enabling perfect surveillance and control. It could worsen inequality as technical sophisticates exploit complex systems. Environmental damage might outweigh benefits. Scams and failures could destroy trust in digital innovation. The technology is neutral. Human choices determine outcomes. The truth likely lies between extremes. Blockchain won't solve every problem or destroy every institution. It will evolve, adapt, succeed in some areas, and fail in others. Like the internet before it, blockchain will transform society in ways we can't fully predict. What seems certain is that the genie can't return to the bottle. Millions now understand that money can exist without governments, contracts without lawyers, organizations without executives. These ideas, once imagined, can't be unimagined. Even if current blockchain implementations fail, the concepts they've introduced will influence whatever comes next. Tonight, as you drift toward sleep, perhaps you'll dream of chains of light connecting every corner of our world, each link forged from mathematics and consensus, carrying not just transactions, but possibilities. Dream of Indonesian fishermen selling directly to Japanese restaurants, tracked on blockchain. Dream of African entrepreneurs accessing global capital through DeFi protocols. Dream of artists owning their creations forever through smart contracts. Dream of a grandmother's savings protected from hyperinflation by cryptocurrency. Dream of refugees carrying their identity and assets in memorized words, unbounded by borders. Dream of corruption exposed by transparent ledgers and democracy enhanced by secure voting. But also dream of the work still needed, making technology accessible to all, not just the technically sophisticated. Dream of bridges between old and new systems, helping everyone transition rather than leaving people behind. Dream of regulations that protect without stifling innovation. Dream of sustainable systems that enhance rather than damage our planet. The blockchain story is still being written, and you, dear sleeper, are part of it. Whether you ever own cryptocurrency or use a blockchain application, you live in a world being reshaped by these technologies. Your data, your money, your interactions, all might one day flow through distributed ledgers and smart contracts. So as your breathing deepens and your mind relaxes, let these ideas settle gently into your consciousness. Don't try to remember every detail or understand every concept. Let them wash over you like waves on a digital shore, depositing insights that will emerge when needed. Remember that behind every hash, every block, every transaction, there's a human story. Someone seeking freedom, opportunity, or simply trying to build a better world through code. The technology might be complex, but the motivations are timeless. The desire for trust, fairness, opportunity, and connection. Blockchain represents humanity's latest attempt to solve ancient problems with new tools. Like writing, printing, and the internet before it, blockchain changes how we coordinate, communicate, and create value. We're living through a transformation whose full impact won't be clear for decades. As sleep approaches, carrying you toward dreams both digital and timeless, know that you've journeyed through one of the most fascinating technological developments of our time. You've explored the mathematics that makes it possible, the people who build it, the promise it holds, and the perils it presents. Tomorrow, the blockchain will still be there, adding blocks every few seconds or minutes, recording transactions, executing smart contracts, enabling new forms of human coordination. The chain continues growing, link by link, block by block, carrying our collective digital history forward into an uncertain but undoubtedly interesting future. Sleep now and dream of decentralized worlds where trust is mathematical, value is programmable, and the impossible becomes merely difficult. Dream of chains that bind not through force, but through consensus, creating structures both permanent and flexible, serving humanity's ancient needs through tomorrow's technology. The blocks keep forming, the chain keeps growing, and somewhere in the world, someone is discovering for the first time that money doesn't require banks, contracts don't require lawyers, and trust doesn't require knowing someone's name. The revolution is quiet, mathematical, and ongoing. Rest well, knowing you've traveled through the blockchain's landscape, from its cryptographic foundations to its transformative potential. May your dreams be filled with a gentle hum of mining rigs finding perfect hashes, the soft glow of nodes synchronizing across continents, and the quiet certainty of mathematics ensuring truth in a world that often lacks it. Good night, and sweet dreams of distributed futures and decentralized tomorrows.